Privacy is a fundamental human right, a right increasingly under assault by the powers that be. Nowhere is this more acute than when it comes to our personal finances. Everybody wants to know what you own and what you're buying, from governments to bankers and thieves. All I plead from them is to leave me be. While this sounds great indeed, what privacy coins will help me achieve these utopian dreams? My name is Guy, and in this video I'll be taking a look at 3 of my top privacy coin picks. I'll also be comparing them and breaking down their pros and cons. Oh yes, and if you watch till the very end, I'll let you know which of these I'll be adding to my portfolio. So be sure to stick around for that. Before we go down the rabbit hole, let's make sure we're strapped in. I am not a financial advisor. It's not my shtick. Everything I say is purely educational and should not be interpreted as financial advice in any way, shape or form. Also, if you're new to the channel, welcome to my community. I release videos like this regularly, so it's well worth your while to hit up that subscribe button and ping that bell. Get them while they're hot. Okay, all set. Let's power on with privacy coins. Now, before I can get going with the top picks, I need to give you a bit of an overview on privacy coins. If you're already a well-versed privacy hawk, then feel free to jump ahead to the picks in the timestamps that I've provided below. Anyways, the first and most important thing to point out right now is that Bitcoin is not private. Yep, sure, no one knows who's behind a particular Bitcoin address, but they sure as hell can analyze everything about that address. How much does it hold and how long has it had said funds? Has it interacted with any other addresses and can transactions be traced to particular exchanges? All of this can easily be found out. Through the use of blockchain auditing tools, people can pretty quickly draw up a picture of what a Bitcoin address has been up to. You see, most public blockchains these days are just that, open to the public. They're also censorship resistant, which means once a transaction has been sent and timestamped, it is there for eternity. Now, this is not really a flaw necessarily. This was needed on the Bitcoin blockchain to ensure that it was keeping all participants honest. However, the lack of privacy from this open public blockchain was an unfortunate side effect. Initially, many who used the network were not so concerned about this. They used Bitcoin as if it was entirely private. Back in the days of Silk Road, Bitcoin was used just like that. Some users even sent these funds directly to exchange accounts in their name. And once someone can attach a real-world identity to a Bitcoin address, they know whose door to knock on. Okay, so now that I've got you perfectly paranoid, it's time to take a look at some privacy coins that are going to be your saving grace. The first coin on my list is a long-time favorite of mine. It's also one of the most popular privacy coins, and for good reason. I am, of course, talking about Monero with the ticker XMR. So, what is it exactly? Well, it's a peer-to-peer electronic cash that was developed specifically for privacy. Given that their blockchain is completely hidden, it means that XMR currency is fungible. For those who don't know what that means, it means that each unit of Monero is completely indistinguishable from the other. Just like the £10 note that I have in my pocket is indistinguishable from the £10 note that my friend has in his. Now, while this may sound reasonable in practice, developing a completely private blockchain like this is no easy feat. And Monero is able to do this through the use of some pretty bleeding-edge privacy tech. For example, through the use of stealth addresses, users are able to keep their unique Monero address while receiving inward transactions with a one-time public address. I won't bore you with the details here, but it basically means that you can easily send an address to someone so that they can send a payment. However, no one else will be able to see that the end recipient of the payment is your address thanks to the use of these stealth addresses. Another really advanced feature on the Monero blockchain is the use of ring signatures. This is basically a mechanism where each transaction can be signed by a collection of other possible signers. By including this ring of possible other signers, you're making it impossible for anyone to determine where the funds are actually being sent. Add to this ring confidential transactions, which hide transaction amounts, and you have a privacy hawk's wet dream. Now, if this is confusing you, don't worry. I've done a complete review of Monero that covers this and many of its other features. You can watch it right here. Anyways, all this tech means that Monero is able to achieve that holy grail status of truly untraceable digital cash. It's also really important to point out that these privacy features are mandatory for anyone who uses the network. They are not opt-in. All network participants are viewed equal and uphold the privacy for all on the network, irrespective of how they're transacting. This is different from the other well-known cryptocurrency Zcash, which has an opt-in feature with their Z addresses. Now, while opt-in is a favorable feature to garner an exchange listing, it's less desirable from a network privacy perspective. Anyways, while the network privacy is of course the main criteria, there are a number of other reasons why I love Monero. It has a pretty strong community of die-hard cypherpunks and privacy advocates. Its developers are driven more by ideology than profit, and they're focused on making Monero the best privacy coin it can be. It's also community funded, and these developers are constantly building new technology that keeps them one step ahead of those looking to break said technology. One particular issue I will raise is their ongoing tussle with ASIC mining machines. For those of you who don't know, application-specific mining chips are highly efficient at hashing particular algorithms. However, their introduction has led to a more centralized mining landscape as GPU and CPU mining became unprofitable. As we know, centralization is a no-no in the crypto space. So while developers at other cryptocurrencies have given up the good fight against ASICs, Monero battles on. Their most recent salvo was the release of Random X mining algorithm. I won't bore you with the details here, but it basically favors CPU mining over ASIC and GPU mining. This means that anyone with a processing chip can try and hash themselves some XMR. And while it may have hurt GPU miners as well, there are a number of other proof-of-work coins that they can target. Okay, so I've been singing Monero's praises, but do I foresee any challenges? Well, perhaps one of the biggest risks that lingers is that of exchange support. Given that Monero has no opt-in feature, all transactions into an exchange are hidden. This means that they cannot know whether the funds are being used for an illicit purpose. Clearly a risk for them. Also, limiting exchange support is one of the only ways in which the regulatory agencies can clamp down on XMR trading. By removing any sort of fiat or Bitcoin conversions, they would be severely impacting its market liquidity. This is not just a postulation. There is a reason that exchanges like Coinbase list coins like Zcash and not Monero. It's because they make use of the transparent T addresses on the coin. There have also been a number of exchanges that have had to delist Monero given their concerns about potential regulatory pushback. For the time being, Monero still has decent support and liquidity on the likes of Kraken or Binance. However, if the trend continues, then it's likely that XMR trading could be pushed to decentralized alternatives. Now, while there are attractive decentralized alternatives like the BISC network, this is still not beginner-friendly and it recently suffered a security vulnerability. The final solution may then have to be OTC transactions, but these are far from optimal. Do I foresee such an outcome for XMR? Probably not. There are a lot of offshore exchanges that don't have to kowtow to the regulators. When there is demand, they will pop up to supply. Yet the risk is there, and I need to mention it. Anyways, on to my next pick, and this is Zcoin, ticker XZC. Not to be confused with Zcash, Zcoin is a cryptocurrency that was built on the Zerocoin protocol. However, given a number of vulnerabilities in the Zerocoin protocol, Zcoin upgraded to a new protocol in July of 2019. This was called Sigma, and it achieves anonymization through a sort of coin laundry and a process called minting. Basically, you will exchange your dirty coins, those with a transaction history, for clean coins that have none. This will then break any sort of transaction links between the dirty coin and the one that you've just minted. Zerocoin also makes use of zero-knowledge cryptographic proofs in order to sign transactions. For those that don't know, this is the technology that underpins many other privacy coins and was popularized by Zcash. The exact mechanics of minting and zero-knowledge proofs are beyond the scope of this video, but I've linked to some handy resources below which you can peruse at your leisure. Anyways, while zero-knowledge proofs are no doubt quite advanced, they do have one flaw in that they require some sort of a trusted setup. Basically, you have to trust that those who initially configured a system did it properly. Now, I was always quite skeptical of this notion of trusting someone else, and was one of the reasons I did not get on board with those privacy coins that used these proofs. That's why I was particularly intrigued when Zcoin released their Sigma protocol last year. It did away with this trusted setup. Indeed, the Zcoin developers themselves have also said that they viewed the trusted setup as one of the biggest drawbacks to their technology. So this got me intrigued about Zcoin. It's also worth pointing out that the Sigma upgrade included a number of other improvements. Apart from the elimination of the zero-coin vulnerabilities, there was also a reduction in proof sizes for transactions, so lighter and faster transactions as a result. Something else I really liked about Zcoin is their relatively unique approach to consensus and mining. They use something called the MTP algorithm, or Merkle tree proof. This is a proof-of-work algorithm that was developed to avoid those same minor centralization problems that I touched on earlier. Much like Monero is trying to achieve with RandomX, Zcoin's MTP is designed to keep CPU mining competitive, to basically restrict the competitive advantage that ASIC and GPU rigs have over their CPU brethren. So, by reducing the profitability for these miners, the Zcoin developers have managed to create a more decentralized mining process. Oh, and something else that you should know is that there is also a staking component at Zcoin. This is done through what are called Z-nodes. These are basically masternodes on the network that have to stake XZC in order to earn block rewards. This makes it not too dissimilar from masternodes at Dash. Anyways, masternodes are a great way to earn regular income from a coin that you're going to be sitting on in any event. In order to run a Z-node, you have to stake 1000 XZC, which at today's prices is about $4,100. This is not that bad at all if we were to compare that to other blockchains. For example, Dash requires 1000 Dash, which is about 79k. Z-nodes earn 30% of the block rewards on the network. At current prices and block rewards, this implies a yearly return of about 14%, and that's pretty damn good if you ask me. Masternode coins like Dash are only at about 6.2%, and even some of your regular staking coins are way less than this. Tezos, Cosmos, Algo, etc. Of course, setting up a Z-node is a bit more complex than staking any of these coins, so be aware of that. I've linked to the docs below should you want to mission on that one. While I've been focusing on the tech of Zcoin, I also like what the team is doing. They're quite accomplished and have already proven themselves with previous development work. Not only that, but in the upcoming block reward halving this year, they'll be reallocating their founder's reward to increase the development budget. The new redistribution will see 15% of all block rewards diverted to a development fund, whereas it's currently only 8%. So put another way, the team will be sacrificing their own earning potential to advance development of the protocol. I can definitely get on board with that. Now, of course, there are still risks. Firstly, like is the case with Monero, there's no opt-in feature. This means that exchanges are more reluctant to list the coin in the face of regulatory pressure. The Zcoin Sigma protocol is also brand new and less battle-tested than tech on the likes of Monero. So far, things seem to be going well, but I can't say conclusively that all those zero-coin vulnerabilities have been ironed out. Okay, so that's enough of Zcoin. Time for the third pick, and this one had me grinning all day long. Grin is a relatively new privacy coin which I've actually visited before. Those of you who have watched my top altcoins video will have seen me cover it. Anyways, Grin is a privacy coin that was built on the Mimblewimble protocol. Mimblewimble was a proposal developed by Tom Elvis Jedusor that could theoretically increase Bitcoin's privacy, scalability, and fungibility. Okay, now if that sounded like hocus pocus to you, well, it quite literally is. Mimblewimble and Tom Elvis Jedusor are both borrowed from Harry Potter. Anywho, the exact mechanics of how the Mimblewimble protocol works can be hard to wrap one's head around, but it basically eliminates Bitcoin's UTXO model. This is then replaced with a multi-signature for all inputs and outputs. These are confidential transactions that use a Peterson commitment scheme where the parties will share a blinding factor. This blinding factor encrypts the inputs and outputs of the transactions along with both parties' public and private keys. I won't go into the specifics of this, you'll be relieved to hear, but have linked to the Mimblewimble white paper below. A nice light read before bed. So, given that Grin uses the Mimblewimble protocol, there are no identifiable or reusable addresses. All transactions appear as random data to outside participants. Just like Monero and Zcoin, it is privacy by default, and all Grin are fungible. But the privacy aspect is only one component of Mimblewimble. It is also a lot more efficient transaction mechanism, which means it can scale more easily. In fact, Grin is able to scale mostly with the number of users and minimally with the number of transactions. This results in a large space saving compared to other blockchains. Now, apart from the obvious privacy and scaling potential that Mimblewimble affords Grin, there are a number of reasons why Grin itself is a project that drew my interest. Firstly, and most importantly, it is a completely open source blockchain that was started with no pre-mine or ICO. Also, there's no founder's reward at all. Unlike some other privacy coins that reward founders with a percentage of block rewards, Grin has none of that. All of the block rewards go to those who hashed for them. Grin is also not controlled by any company or individual and is funded entirely by community donations. All of the spending from these development funds are displayed in a transparent manner. So far, they've been able to raise about 116 Bitcoin, as you can see here. Compare this to some of the projects that did ICOs back in 2017. Many that raised north of $30 million have either developed vaporware or evaporated entirely. Now you see why I'm not a fan of ICOs in general. Anyways, I digress. When it comes to mining, Grin also uses a pretty unique proof-of-work algorithm called the cuckoo cycle. This is a memory-bound algorithm and, like the other coins mentioned above, it was developed to be ASIC resistant, another win for miner decentralization. Something else that you'll notice about Grin is that they have a steady emission of 1 Grin per second. In my previous video, some people raised this as a concern as it meant a steady rate of inflation with no capped supply. Well, a steady rate of inflation and price appreciation are not mutually exclusive. All that matters is the rate of said emission compared to broader demand. FYI, Monero will also have what is called tail emission, which will kick in 2022. Okay, so Grin sounds great, but are there any challenges that it faces? Well, firstly, I would have to say exchange support. Whereas Monero and Zcoin are both listed on some reputable exchanges, I can't really say the same for Grin. The only exchanges I would really consider are the likes of Bittrex or maybe KuCoin. Then, of course, even if it did have more exchange support, it's privacy by default, so could face the same challenges as Monero and Zcoin. But perhaps the biggest challenge I see for Grin is that there is a vulnerability that was discovered in the Mimblewimble protocol. Not a vulnerability that puts users' funds at risk, but one that allows an attacker to de-anonymize transactions. The privacy vulnerability also only applies to senders and receivers and not to the actual amounts being transacted. Nevertheless, this is an issue for Mimblewimble-based coins and is one of the reasons that it's not top of my list. But then again, Grin is a new project and the developers were aware of this potential attack vector. So as they continue work on the protocol, I remain cautiously optimistic. And that's it, my friends. My top 3 privacy coins that you need to have on your radar. Now, of course, I'm sure that you're dying to know which ones I'll be adding to my portfolio, right? Well, I can't tell you, unfortunately. That would defeat the purpose of it being a privacy coin. Sorry guys, but I need to keep true to the spirit of financial privacy. But I hope that my analysis was thorough enough for you to come to your own conclusions on that one. Anyways, do you guys have any questions for me? Any other privacy coins that you're feeling? I'd love to hear about them in the comments. And also, if you found this video insightful, then let it be known. Drop a like and hit up that subscribe button. I'm working on my next analysis as we speak. I hope you liked that video as much as I enjoyed making it. But truth be told, I just couldn't fit in everything that I wanted to. There's so much more that I have to say. Now, this is exactly why I started my weekly newsletter. It's a succinct summary of all the important news, reviews, and analysis I have for the week ahead. I also disclose my personal portfolio as well as other juicy coin tips. Keen? Well, don't delay. Head on over to the description below. There you will find a link to a sign-up form. Then just insert your email, hit submit, and bada bing, bada boom, you are subscribed. Oh, and I hate spam more than anyone, so you sure won't be getting any from me. Hope you guys enjoy the next email.